Phil Collins's name might instantly remind people of soulful ballads and chart-topping hits, but long before he became a pop superstar, he was first and foremost a drummer with a dream. Today, as he steps back into the cultural spotlight, audiences are rediscovering just how profound his impact has been, not just as a singer, but as one of the most respected drummers of his time. For Collins, music was never about fame or glamour. It was about rhythm, that heartbeat of every great song. Beneath all the production and pop success, Collins has always stayed true to his roots, a drummer inspired by the greats who came before him. One Ringo Starr, the quiet genius who started it all. Phil often says his love for drumming began with the Beatles. While many fans focused on John Lennon's lyrics or Paul McCartney's melodies, Collins was fascinated by the man behind the kit, Ringo Starr. People used to joke that Ringo was the least talented Beatle, but Phil never agreed. To him, Ringo was the foundation, the unsung hero who gave the Beatles their pulse. Collins often points to songs like Tomorrow Never Knows and A Day in the Life as examples of Ringo's brilliance. His fills weren't flashy, but they created mood and movement in ways few drummers could. As a boy, Phil would bang on kitchen chairs and pots, imagining himself as Ringo. He said it was Ringo who taught him that the drummer wasn't just keeping time, he was shaping the whole song. That realization changed everything. One Ringo Starr, the quiet genius who started it all. Phil often says his love for drumming began with the Beatles. While many fans focused on John Lennon's lyrics or Paul McCartney's melodies, Collins was fascinated by the man behind the kit, Ringo Starr. People used to joke that Ringo was the least talented Beatle, but Phil never agreed. To him, Ringo was the foundation, the unsung hero who gave the Beatles their pulse. Collins often points to songs like Tomorrow Never Knows and A Day in the Life as examples of Ringo's brilliance. His fills weren't flashy, but they created mood and movement in ways few drummers could. As a boy, Phil would bang on kitchen chairs and pots, imagining himself as Ringo. He said it was Ringo who taught him that the drummer wasn't just keeping time, he was shaping the whole song. That realization changed everything. 3. John Bonham, the hammer of the gods. When it comes to power behind the drums, nobody embodied it like John Bonham of Led Zeppelin. His thunderous sound redefined rock music. Collins remembers watching Bonham perform. Every strike of the drum felt like an earthquake. Bonham wasn't just playing with the band, he was the band's heartbeat. His footwork, especially on the bass drum, became legendary. Phil often says Bonham taught him that drums could be both brutal and beautiful, powerful but precise. You can hear that influence on Genesis tracks like Los Endos and In the Cage, where Collins channels that same intensity and discipline. Bonham showed him that a drummer could lead the song, not just follow it. 4. Buddy Rich, the master technician. While Bonham brought raw force, Buddy Rich brought unmatched precision. Collins calls him the greatest drummer who ever lived. Rich was a phenomenon, a self-taught prodigy who started performing before he could even walk. His control, speed, and clarity were on another level. Phil first discovered Buddy Rich through his West Side Story medley, a breathtaking display of technical mastery. For Collins, Buddy was proof that drumming could be high art. Rich's dedication and discipline inspired him to push beyond rock and explore jazz and big band arrangements. Even decades later, Phil said that every time he sat behind the kit, he tried to capture just a bit of Buddy's magic. 5. Charlie Watts, the soul of simplicity. While many drummers chased complexity, Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones found power in simplicity. Phil often spoke about how much he admired Charlie's calm, unshakable style. Watts didn't need to show off. He just grooved. He gave the Stones their heartbeat with effortless timing and restraint. Collins said that Charlie reminded him that drumming isn't always about doing more. Sometimes it's about doing less, but doing it perfectly. The two became friends later in life, and Collins often described Watts as one of the few drummers who understood the real art of holding back, of letting the song breathe. 6. Nick Collins. The legacy continues. As the years went by, Phil's health began to decline, and he could no longer play the drums the way he once did. That's when his son, Nick Collins, stepped in and carried on the legacy. Barely in his 20s, Nick took the stage beside his father and stunned audiences around the world. For Phil, it was both emotional and uplifting, seeing his own son carry the same rhythm, the same passion, and even that familiar Phil Collins groove. It was proof that drumming wasn't just his profession, it was his family's heartbeat. Nick became living evidence that music, when born from love, never truly fades. 7. Chester Thompson and Steve Gadd. The brothers in Rhythm 2, More Names hold a special place in Phil's heart. Chester Thompson and Steve Gadd. When Phil stepped out front to sing for Genesis, Chester became the man he trusted behind the kit. With his jazz fusion background and time spent with Frank Zappa, Chester brought both complexity and groove to Genesis's live sound. Their chemistry was instant, almost telepathic. And then there's Steve Gadd, the session legend whose drumming on Steely Dan's Aja left Collins speechless. Gadd's ability to make even the most complicated rhythms sound effortless became another lifelong lesson for Phil. Great drumming isn't about showing off, it's about making people feel.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.